not, I will just start bad with things. All right. Well, I'm not going to do it exactly because I don't do that. So, first person I'm going to have come up is Ken. Pass along the torch, Ken.
Thank you.
You have to hold that when you read.
If you want to.
I'm going to start with a poem by a different poet, Clarence Wolfshaw, who has been around. I mean, look, I think he's old as dirt. You see him I'm just kidding. But you see him often with Walter Bergen. And
he'll be reading on Thursday.
hmm?
He'll be reading on Thursday in Ashland at the library.
That's right, yes.
Where? The Ashland Public Library. He'll be reading with Walter
Yeah,
On
it's,
Thursday?
on Thursday the 11th. Yeah.
it's the Boone
At what time?
Southern
I
Library.
think it's 6:30. Is it 6:30? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I'll have to check.
Is there an event out or something?
I forgot to write down the page of this poem, but I
The library just passed the second four-way stop, the national on the right.
Is that a regular series that they're having, or is it just a one?
I'm not sure.
Thing?
I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
he
it's
had,
at 6:30.
and he had a flyer printed out, so otherwise I would
And
forget to put my calendar.
I will say too, if you want to get on to a local series in this area, every time I go to the Ashland Public Library, they try to jump me to start a series. So if anyone's looking to do that, they're looking to host one.
Local.
But they're first looking for a host. They don't have a series in place yet.
They don't.
Oh,
They're
okay,
looking for
okay.
someone to bring the series there.
I cannot possibly. Nice.
So Clarence lives up in Fulton. Apollo Porta Potty. Imagine him stuck in there on this blistering day, the god of light, sun, and poetry, composing lyrics under his laurel crown. All the stench from bowels loosened by carnival rides, beer-inspired pee. What's a god to do? Closed up in a confessional of waste, he must spout oracles. He must think of his twin Artemis afield in the wilderness, beloved of animals, stern, sweet, chaste sister, smelling the river-rich leaves of cypress. So that's Clarence Wolfshaw. And I wasn't planning on reading this, but something that Agnes said I decided to. When she talked about grief, paraphrase sort of, over time, it comes unexpected, ambush. Well, for me, it always comes at the beginning of December, but I forget about it until there's the day, and it's like, oh yeah, all right, so I'm going to write something. Not that I don't want to think about it. My father died in '93, so it's more than 30 years ago. The 5th of December. I used to count the days since you closed your eyes for the last time, or since the service 3 days later, when I wished it was you addressing family and friends. This is the day that stays with me. I stopped counting when the days reached the thousands. It may be decades since we last spoke, but I can hear your voice today. That would have been yesterday. Thank you. I think I've read this here before. 2019, a tornado ripped through Jefferson City. Millions of dollars of damage. It was might have been a 4, I think. Touchdown. It came out of Eldon, touching, tearing, ripping trees, roofs, indiscriminate in its favoring or rending. It arrived unexpected. 30 miles later, hills and bluffs, the expected buffer, failed to deter. Walls that once met no longer. Roots meant to anchor, kissed the sky. their farthest extremities kissing the earth. It didn't stay long. Why would it? After crossing the muddy river, it returned to its true home, the sky. Thank you. I have one more poem. Only 19. And this may be a draft, this may be subject to a revision, I'm not sure. Only 19. All those years ago, when we were only 19, I thought you broke my heart when you moved on. But here's the thing. We were always moving on. Hearts and minds still formative, transformative at 19. Yearning, but learning who we were meant to be. We talked about a future that wasn't ours, that was the past of others. Lies we would tell each other when we would lie together at 19, when we didn't really know each other. I thought I missed you, but I didn't even know myself. So how can I know you? Thank you. And passing of the torch. Who's next?
Let's see here. Oh. I should have these on that today. The next person on our list is Philip.
Okay, so since I've been here, I've been writing, and that has led me back into poetry, which I haven't done for 30-some years. But I came across a file as I was going through eliminating things, and it is an occasional poem. It was written for the occasion of the premiere of the movie Howl about Allen Ginsberg. The theater where it was playing wanted to have an event around that, and so they asked several people to write pieces that were inspired by Allen Ginsberg. So, trigger warning for anyone, this acknowledges that sex between men exists, because that's really what it's about. And it does mention Walt Whitman's erection. So I hope that doesn't offend anyone. Or I hope that it does. It would be a reaction. And it's as the child of two teachers, I also want to educate people. And this is a history lesson in LGBTQIA alphabet soup history. Because it is about something called the whispered transmission. And that is the title, is whispered transmission. This is also, I want to say, this is not typical of the things that I write. This was written for that occasion to be inspired by Ginsberg. So, whispered transmission. Begin transmission. Be Ginsberg's mission. By word, by mouth, by word of mouth, from hand to mouth, from north to south. A whisper, a shout, a howl in the night. Not with a bang but a whimper, but with a bang and a whisper. A manual transmission from hand to mouth, an electrical vision, a nuclear fission, a socio-sexual intermission, a sacred connection, an intercourse, an inner vision, a trance, a mission. This degree of separation, this degree of connection, this whisper, this whispered transmission. From trance, the monks, the Buddhist monks, received the learning, the word, by word of mouth they heard, an oral lineage, a line through the ages, from mouth to ear, from year to year, they call the whispered transmission, and thereby hangs a tale. From monk to monk, from teacher to learner, they hand the words over, words that resist parchment, the paper words that stay there, that hang in the air, words that the ear must hear, that the heart must bear. And so they teach one to one, hand to mouth, by word of mouth, and they called it the whispered transmission. Begin the Beginsburg. And Alan learned the words of the heart, the words that the heart must howl, and became a part of the art of the heart and the state of the heart, from heart to heart and hand to hand and word for word and man to man, an oral lineage of a different sort, like a sailor in a port in any storm, a sacred, a social, a sexual transmission from man to man, back where it all began, to ignite the ignition of this whispered transmission. Transmit the receiver. 5, I've seen the best minds. 4, on the road over the cuckoo's nest. 3, the circle of sex. 2, the electrical current. 1, the body electric. Selecting then from patient X, ground 0. 1, the body electric. A whiskered transmitter. Who started it all? Who started this whispered transmission? Walt Whitman, poet, father, mother of a new poetry, a verse that grew free in leaves of grass, nursing the verse as a Civil War nurse, born to the manor at the bedside of the civil soldiers. And he bedded the boys, but the old boys' network, the het work, the hetero row your boat, but only on the mainstream, had the power in their ivory towers, and said, Whitman's words muscle their way on the page. He puts the man in manuscript. We can't have our hero be gay. But his body electric remained current, selecting and bedding, and Edward, too, the electrical current. If I were a carpenter, I would say yes too. Say yes to Whitman, just sample his wares. Edward Carpenter, socialist, mystic activist, poet, who wanted to know it with Whitman, and he did, and they did, and nothing was hid. And Edward Carpenter brought sandals to Britain and scandalized Britons by publishing books that started the nation and started the heart of a new generation toward gay liberation. But the times were Victorian. They didn't want his story, and he was forgotten. In his lifetime, books left to themselves on adults-only shelves, a lost pioneer, and he deserves much more for standing up for the intermediate sex. But Edward Carpenter knew what to do with some wood, with a Walt Whitman woody, and would he? He knew what to do, and he did. 3. The Circle of Sex. Long before Arcing in the Circle of Sex, a book by Gavin Arthur, the third generation from the 21st president of the nation, President Chester Arthur's grandson, who chose his own name and had that self-same Edward Carpenter. Gavin Arthur, astrologer, found sex roles confining, and he kept on refining and redefining the unions could and do exist and persist without procreation. And when he was at boarding school, Gavin met Edward Carpenter, much his senior and his most admired after Walt Whitman, and said that in his bed, Carpenter gave him head. And Gavin thought, first Walt, then him, then me. Already the sacred line defined by 3 points, and Carpenter smelled of the leaves and ferns and soils of autumn woods. And Carpenter swallowed and said, it isn't the chemical ingredients which are so full of vitality, it's the electrical current, like you get from milk, if you get it direct from the cow. 4, on the road over the cuckoo's nest. Dean Moriarty and Randall McMurphy, and both one man, Neil Cassidy. Sometime thief, sometime beat, an inspiration for novels, for poets. To Gavin Arthur, a Zen guru, who brought Cassidy into this sacred sexual circle with the whisper, the whispered transmission. Neil Cassidy, freewheeling bisexual with the face of an angel and a whole soul, but a hole in his soul that led him to 5, the best minds of my generation. Allen Ginsberg, poet mendicant in the uniform and uniformed age of the post-World War world. Allen Ginsberg, who wanted to unbutton the button-down mind, who unzipped the fly, whose howl was a cry in the wilderness, celebrating the wildness of the outcast, those who were cast to outlast the consumer society that consumes your entirety. Allen Ginsberg, who couldn't be the same as all the people who weren't different. Allen Ginsberg, who wrote that sex existed. The words of sex were listed, and they said that was obscene. And Allen Ginsberg had Cassidy, and Cassidy had Gavin Arthur, and Gavin with Edward Carpenter, and Carpenter with Walt Whitman, the whispered transmission. The secret knowledge, the sacred history handed down to us, to gather, to learn. They have burned our words, for once they would have turned our bodies to ash. But the history of the outcast will outlast the cost of a Holocaust, as long as our songs hold fast the words we send on a mission, our transferred history, transmitted mystery. The body electric remains current, a currency to spend in whispers, in shouts, with an owl, with a howl. The whispered capital W remains and sustains. End transmission.
Thank you, Philip. Okay, who's here? All right, I'm gonna have John Clayton come up.
Going from right here, if this is okay.
That's fine. I also had that chair there for you, just in case. Oh, I guess you don't need that.
I don't need that. I don't know if all of you know or not, but we're doing a second volume of Reported for Duty. If you have vet poems or people, if you're a vet or you are a vet family member or you know a vet, you want to write a poem about. All those missions supposedly closed in November. It'll still take them if you send them to it. So.
Joan Olsen.
Sorry about that. Also, Gumbo Bottoms is doing another anthology. So if you've been reading there, you might want to think about doing that. It's going to be titled Homebrew, and it's supposed to be about things that remind you of home. And for different, I guess everybody's different. For me, we moved around all the time. I probably went to 15 or 18 different schools before I graduated from high school. So my home was wherever my mother was at. So anyway, what I want to do tonight, I want to read 3 poems in those veins. The first one I want to read is, I don't know what to do about that. It's called Homebrew, my granddad's Homebrew. I don't know how it works, but we'll try it. His name was Otto Beardsley, pronounced by family and friends in Western Kentucky, Otto, T-O-E, not Otto. It probably has something to do with the way that people in Kentucky talk. He was a tenant farmer in Ballard County, Kentucky, just outside of Wycliffe. Until after World War II, when he bought the farm, they worked on shares for years. Otto was my maternal grandfather. You've probably guessed he liked to drink beer, and he was of German descent. Mama said he worked hard, but loved alcohol and gambling more than he did his family. 2 53-gallon oak barrels sat on the corners of his porch. A downspout ran from the gutter to each of the rainwater barrels. One of the barrels held rainwater. The other barrel Well, it did hold a liquid, but it was not rainwater. Otto was an enterprising man who did not pass up the opportunity to make a dime. Burley tobacco was his main cash crop before the government got involved in the tobacco farming business and limited the amount of tobacco a man could grow. He also grew truck patch, and in season, that back porch looked like a farmer's market. It operated on an honor plan. There was an old Judge coffee can where the customers paid for their purchases and made change. Some customers came after dark and brought their own containers. Most brought a half-gallon jar, and others brought a gallon jug with that hook on the neck that you can put your finger through. Those customers knew to slide the wooden box with the hominy corn over to the side to expose the spout on the barrel that did not contain rainwater. I always figured the sheriff drank for free because Otto was never arrested for plying his trade. I don't know when the homebrew business started or when it ended. I do know Otto was still operating in 1968 because I saw it with my own eyes, and even tried the product when I was on leave from the Army. I had gone to Heath, which is a little town just outside of Paducah, to pick up a 20 gauge Frenchie from my Uncle Malcolm. I stopped by Granddad's house. We sampled his home brew, but it was not quite ready. So we went to Cairo and bought a 12-pack of Falstaff. I drove him around in the Ohio River bottoms while we drank, and he told stories or lies. That was the last time I saw him alive or dead. I went to Vietnam, and in the fall, he shot himself. I didn't even know he was dead for 6 weeks. Otto was a heathen and did not go to church at all. If there is an afterlife, I'm pretty sure he's drinking beer, shooting craps, and telling lies. The next two are old pieces that I'm sure several of you have heard them before. Although one is pretty old, but I've just never felt like I wanted to publish it. It's, you know, one of those kind of personal pieces you get sometimes. It's called Mama's Biscuits. Mama made biscuits 3 times a day. It was like breathing for her. She started every morning this way. Put the ingredients in a bowl and give it a stir. There was no biscuit board. Sift on some flour and turn the dough onto the table. Don't work it too much. That'll make them tough. The old sifter has some holes in the screen. Turn the handle and the flour sifts out. Around 20,000 pans of biscuits that sifter has seen. Those biscuits were good. About that, there's no doubt. The biscuit pan had a few dents. That came from years of use. Can't buy a new one, have to save a few cents. On top of the biscuits, smear some bacon juice. Popped them in the old wood stove. Splitting cookwood is a pain in the ass. It has to be oak from the back 40 Grove. It has to be oak so it'll last. She helped us practice our times tables and spelling words too. As she fried the sausage and egg. Making gravy was muscle memory too. It takes a lot to fill a growing boy's leg. The oven door opens and the biscuits come out. It floods the room with that delicious smell. Thinking about it, I'm having a drooling bout. Mama's biscuits are a memory as deep as a well. Thank you. This piece is called Mother Had a Hobo Soul, and I'm old enough that I was around and I can remember hobos. A lot of you don't, but I do. And so that's what this is about. My mother had a hobo soul. Her heart was open to hobos. Her hearth was open to hobos when it was cold. She fed them all, both man and beast. She didn't seem to mind in the least. We were poor in the extreme, but I don't think I knew that. I didn't understand the concept of greed. It was simple. You share what you have with others in need. You do that even when what you got ain't too much for you. Just cut it in half and then there's two. They say hobos left signs on where to go for a handout. It was an X within an O. Mama didn't know, of that I'm pretty sure. She was always smiling when she answered the door. Children learn from examples they see. I'm entirely convinced that's what happened to me. Thank you. I know all of you folks, most of you know Julianne King. Julianne's partner, Polo, was captured by ICE and he's been in detention. However, he's made it through the system, and yesterday they walked him across the border at Juarez, took his passport, destroyed it, took his driver's license, destroyed it, and left him, I guess, only with his cell phone. But anyway, he's free. He's back in Mexico, so I hope she's doing better. And with that, Ken and I do poems by other people. This is a piece by Julianne. It's back when all this first started. It's called Eggs. I've never hated anyone enough to sell their safety for some eggs. Thank you. I have copies of the A Shot of the Pure, the anthology from Gumbo Bottoms. It's pretty good. That's really a nice cover. Jason, you did a really good job on that cover. Thank you so much.
See, I'm just full of so much hate that I would take someone out. I wouldn't even need the eggs. Like,
The what?
I wouldn't even need the eggs as inducement to like take someone out. But all right, Jason Reberg, would you care? All right.
Would he disappear?
I don't know what he's doing.
I heard you mention his name in that song flying past the door.
Alright. So, since Jason is being unsociable, I'm gonna have Brenda come up here and read.
Since we had a poem about another poet, I'm going to read about William Burroughs. A Beat Generation primary figure of the 1960s counterculture, he was popular with the underground. A postmodern author, wrote 18 novels, 6 short stories, 4 essay collections, and 9 cut-up poems. His pen name was William Lee, and he was friends with Ginsberg and Kerouac. A groundbreaking writer, eschewed rhyme and strict meter. Born in 1914 to a wealthy St. Louis family, lived on Pershing Avenue, attended Harvard, rebelled against his safe and prosperous family, and moved to Lawrence, Kansas. He sought out mystical visions, was involved in the darker aspects of the human experience, and was involved in the occult and magical themes, was addicted to heroin, and alienated. Burroughs was added to the St. Louis Walk of Fame and is buried in Bellefontaine. And there's something I left out of this poem. He killed his little boy's mother, and his parents adopted his child. But I didn't want to include that, so I guess he went to prison. So I've been to New York City 2 times. One time when I was 18, and we were living outside of Washington, D.C., and I took an Amtrak to New York City with a friend, and we were just going to spend one day. And I was always worried somebody's going to pickpocket me. So I had a wallet, and I took everything out of that wallet, and I put it in my pocket, and left the wallet in my purse. And I went to the Whitney, and I went to all the different museums, and rode the subway. And sure enough, when I got home, my wallet was gone. So they got a wallet with nothing in it. But I went to New York City a second time as a Red Cross volunteer. So I've got a poem on that. New York City. Abundance of life, a rich environment, living beyond fulfillment, fast-paced and always a certain hectic preoccupation. The center of the world, persisting in resilient sensory overload, a diverse ecosystem with alleys and avenues, boulevards and sidewalks, congested and immersed in bright, flickering lights. Countless sirens and New York-style pizza, foldable thin crust, single slices, a daily addiction with immediate gratification. A sensory-rich throng crowded and on the move. But there is an internal order, a type of herd instinct, where actions, emotions, and beliefs are in sync. Without independent thought, driven by a need to belong, tough and bluntly confident, where life breathes in a bubble. This one's called The Fish House. In the Northland, ice clips ponderosa pine trees and eastern cottonwood, creating a veiled subsistence along the railways for itinerant spirits clothed in thrift store cloth. It was no accident that in the distant trees, chiropterans strike slick branches, collapsing into the wanderer's chilling reality, pushing the envelope for survival, now occupying fish houses over frozen tributaries. Cold souls peer into chopped ice holes at Bluebonnet Lake. Like long-forgotten screens, they peer down, where trout, perch, walleyes, bluegill, and northern pike float by underneath, a bone-chilling reality and never within reach. I just want to read one from my first book that I published. It kind of goes along the theme of home. It's called Wanda, Illinois. The cottage was small and white and quiet. Tall windows on the back porch let in bright light. Shelves were lined with various sized potted African violets, royal purple with tiny yellow centers and dark juniper green leaves. The now fallow field on the side of the house was used as a truck patch, growing sweet watermelon and cantaloupe. She met us at the door leading to her small kitchen, wearing a smooth printed cotton dress with a half apron made of similar fabric wrapped around her waist and tightened back. He sat heavily in a faded easy chair, smoking a cigar, resting his elbow on the arm of the chair, smiling with his eyes. Aunts and uncles and cousins soon began to trickle in. We ate roast beef and hot mashed potatoes. Cousins played Red Rover, charades, tag, or card games, staying up as late as we could, laughing and making too much noise. Later, they all would load into their cars and leave, and for a few moments, it felt too quiet. We stayed. Someone pulled the attic stairs down from the hall ceiling. It was a wonder that an entire room was up there. The rickety stairs slid down a section at a time until they hit the hardwood floor. Beds of various sizes filled the room. The sheets and blankets were fresh and cold. We slept soundly. The next morning we had fried eggs and bacon, but we never ate melons. I wish we had.
Okay, I'd just like to thank everyone for sticking with us all year. It's been a weird, rough year. But I'm happy everyone was here. I hope that you will all be here again next year. Next year looks like it'll pick off again, like around the beginning of March. But I've contact info for every individual in this room. And well before that, everyone will know that. My hope is that I will have our whole schedule to everyone by about like the middle of January. That's where I'd like to be. But that's what I'm working on now, trying to figure out what 2026 is going to look like. But it's exciting, and I'm excited about it. So just thank you guys for being here through all of these readings. And I don't even know how many we've done now. But I appreciate you, and everyone have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, and if you need to find me, most of you know where I live. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. So, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, John.
And I have an update to Poetry at the Pop. I had requested the dates and they got back to me. I had asked them in September and they said they're not scheduling yet because construction isn't finished. They will get back to me. Of course, they have not yet gotten back to me, and I will start needling them next week when this weekend is Christmas market and everything's crazy. So I will email them again next week and see what the situation is, which room they're going to give us, which dates they're going to give us, and then if you're not on the email list, you can let me know, get on the email list, I'll mail that out, or otherwise just where to find it on Facebook. So we may start in January, but that's not sure because it's getting a little close. So probably February. We're aiming at the third Tuesday. However, I already had a request from somebody who's traveling in from New Orleans to read earlier in March, so we may be a little off whack. But if we have traveling poets coming through Rolla, then let's just shift and have them read.
Will you keep on those sons of bitches about those lack of good sandwiches they've been promising me they've been going to put back on the menu?
Well, they don't have the kitchen. They're building a kitchen. The problem with the pub is the regular kitchens out of commission because they want to build a full-size kitchen, and we're all waiting for our pizza.
Yes, mushroom pizza.
Exactly.
We're all waiting for the mushroom pizza, but I cannot hurry them about that.
It's not the
So.
same. But,
Agnes, I'm sorry, did you mention December 16th?
Oh, no, I have not yet. Okay, so we have one more this year. Yeah, that's true. On December 16. So now the question is, if James Hamilton isn't coming here, will he be coming to Rolla, or is he not coming at all?
He's not coming here. Like, if he wasn't, he was supposed to be here today. As far as I know, he's not coming here.
So then he might not be coming to Rolla. Whatever James Hamilton is doing, we don't care. We will poetry on the 16th. If he's there, we can read. If he's not there,
We will be.
open us. I've never spoken with the man. Person who's contacted me. I've texted with the person, and she tells me, yes, I will talk to James. He's sitting right next to me. He has never messaged me, responded to my email or anything. It's all done through his. Has he canceled in person, or has the person canceled for him?
Yeah, with me, he talked to me because he'd actually met me in person, but I heard that from a lot of people that they were like, oh yeah, this person just told me to reach out if they want to book James. And I'm like, what is this fucking ridiculous?
Well, what I think is interesting is you're right down the road, but these are 10 days apart. So that was.
He was going to be in the area. No, he also emailed, the person messaged me and said, oh, after we had arranged a date and everything, I said, this is the date I have booked, and yes, he's free to come. Oh, can we move it to maybe this day or that day? I said, no, we cannot move it. This is the day when we're scheduled with the venue. This is the day the event is happening. So he can read or he cannot read, but so
we'll see.
we will see. It is an odd situation.
My
I checked out some test readings online. I mean,
my thought is that he's not going to come to any of it. But we'll see.
we will do the. We will have an awesome
Nothing
open mic, and we don't need to.
It's too bad because he has an interesting delivery.
Yeah, he's not. I won't keep going there. But
Yeah.
When did you say Joe's going to be there?
what's that?
When did you say Joe Arcangeli and Bruce are gonna be?